Yo, 2014 Ram 1500 5.7 liter Hemi. It's got a coolant leak coming from somewhere. Guess where from? I'm gonna start off my amazing adventure by going underneath the vehicle and taking off these three clippy things. And I have a little hook tool here, and I got some clippy things in here. They're kind of held in by gravity. Get this thing out of here. I took the radiator cap off to make sure there's no pressure in the system. I'm sure it's not going to matter because this thing's leaking like a knackered fridge. Down on the driver's side, lower corner of the radiator, I have a 10mm Allen. I can loosen this up and kind of pull out at the same time. Wiggle it around, make sure I don't wreck the thing, and it should start dribbling coolant out of here. I got a drain pan down on the ground, and I'm just going to let it leak for ever. This thing's done dribbling, so I can tighten this back down. Just push it in and turn it until it stops. It doesn't need to be super tight or anything. I have a thermostat housing on this water pump I'm going to want to take off. These are 13mm. There's two of these. It might be stuck a little. It might leak a little. There's a clippy thing under this clampy thing for this upper radiator hose. Leave that thermostat housing right on the hose and just stuff it somewhere out of my way. I have a little electrical connector here that might be in my way. I'm going to pop that out just so it's kind of loose. Then I have two 13mm on these ears here, one on each side of the fan shroud. This shroud should be really loose now. I can just pull up on it. It feels like it's stuck on something, I don't know what. Oh, I got an electric fan in my way. I can't get that out yet. Now I have to get this fan off. I'm going to leave the belt on it. I don't have to worry about damaging this damaged water pump. So I'm just going to get a long bolt and I'm going to stick it in this hole. I have a more professional way of doing this, but that wouldn't be any fun. This is like a backyard hack. This is a 36mm nut. I have an 1.5-inch wrench. You can probably use like a pipe wrench on this or a really big MacGyver wrench. But that long bolt is just going to hold everything tight. I might break the water pump, but I'm not going to care. Now I can just whack this wrench with a BFH. And it should bust it loose. This is reverse thread, so I can just keep spinning this off in a clockwise direction. It hit the ground without wrecking anything. Amazing! Now I should be able to jerk this thing out of here. I gotta kind of go around this upper radiator hose a little bit here and some other lines and stuff. I wrote down myself a belt diagram so I can't screw that up. I got a 3/8 square here. I can just push down on this and loosen this belt. I can try to get my bolt back. $16mm on this tensioner. That's a 5/8 for all of you standard guys. I got a bunch of hosers and hoser clamps I gotta remove here. These are just pinch clamps. I can get in here with a hook tool and loosen these up. Try not to damage the hose. These might dribble a little bit of coolant. I have some amazing bracketry I gotta unbolt here. These are 13mm or a 1/2 inch for all you standard guys. I'm just gonna kind of flop that out of the way like that. I have a temp sender here with a child-proof connector. And this red child-proof connector, you want to pull up on it until you hear a click. And there's a tab right here, you push in on that, and this thing should pull up. It looks nice and dry in there, so it's not leaking or anything. I think all of this wetness is just from residual. Then I have 12 bolts for this water pump. So if you don't think you got all the bolts, just count to 12. These have all kinds of different lengths too, so you might want to keep them in order if you're not me. I have one 15mm on a stud here. There's no standard equivalent for that. And all the rest of these are 13mm. Okay, I think I can count to 12, so I can just find a place to pry on this thing. And bam! I got this water pump in a vise. I'm gonna take off this temperature sender. Hopefully it doesn't break. It's all plastic. This is a 19mm or a 3/4 inch for all you standard guys. I'm gonna replace that thermostat, so I'm leaving it in there. I bought a nice fresh can of PTFE. That's what you want for this stuff. It's pretty cheap at the hardware store compared to going to the parts store and asking for PTFE. A lot of times they look at you funny. This is tapered pipe, so the tighter you get it, the more it crushes up against the threads. Then I have a gasket to deal with here. Then I have a thread protector here I'm taking off. And that's all I should have to do with that. I'm going to clean this gasket surface just by using a razor blade and pulling up on it like so, all the way around the sealing surface until all this crusty junk is gone. You see, if you scrape it this way, you start digging into the metal. That's why I just pull on it like this. That way you're ensured that you're not wrecking the machine surface. And I'm just going to run around here with my finger and make sure it's all smooth and there's no high spots. I feel a little corrosion right here. If it's pitted really bad, you're going to want to put like some gray Permatex down, ultra black or ultra gray, but I think that's going to seal. The sealing surface is up a little higher. I can hit it with a little brake cleaner because I feel like it. A rag. Should be all I need to do with that. Now I can get all these bolts started. Now there's only 3 different lengths of bolts, and I just started them a little bit. So I know they're all in the right location, because there should only be like 4 to 6 threads on every bolt. Now I'm just going to zero all of these without putting any real torque on them. I'm going to go in some kind of made up star pattern. Well, I got all 12 of them. Now I'm going to go around again and I'm going to squish this gasket down. Give it a good 0 squish. I'm just going to count to 12 and make sure I got them all zeroed out. Now that I got these tightened just a little tighter than 0 to squish the gasket, I'm going to go around in a starry pattern again and just keep doing a 12 count to make sure I got them all. And I'm going to torque all of these at 206 inch-pounds or 18 foot-pounds. Now I can put my hoses back on. Whenever you put these clamps on too, you want to put them on the same spot that they were on before. They seal better that way. This tensioner's got a hole and a peg, so Stick the peg in the hole. I want to torque this to 23 foot-pounds or 30 Newton meters. I think the good book says 30 foot-pounds, but I'm pretty sure that's a typo. And then this amazing bracket gets tightened to 12 foot-pounds too, if you care about such a thing. Belt time. I think I'm going to try to put this shroud in here with the fan. I got the shroud in the grooves. Now I'm just going to try to start this thing. It should be going counterclockwise to tighten this up. I think I got it. Now I just want to put my wrench on here. Like so. And give this a little rap with a hammer. And that should be tight enough. Now I can plug my connector back in here. These two 13 millimeters. 12 foot-pounds on these too, if you care about such a thing. Now I have a new thermostat. There's usually a weep hole on these somewhere, that little brass button. I always like to make sure that's facing up, just because that's the way air goes up. I hit this housing with a little bit of sandpaper, just cleaned it up a little bit. You could put a little silicone paste or dielectric grease on here if you really wanted to, but I don't think I need to. Now I'm going to torque these at 12 foot-pounds or 144 inch-pounds. Coolant temp sender next. Make sure you snap in the child-proof connector. I put that bottom piece in. You got to make sure these tabs line up here on the top. Snap it in on the bottom. And put a pressure tester on it. It's holding pressure, so it's not leaking anymore. There's nothing in this overflow. There's a little checker thing here. It says max on it. Should be that dot just below it, I think. So I gotta fill that up to max. Then I'm gonna fill up the radiator and I'm gonna run it for a little while and make sure that all the coolant runs through the system, burp the system out. I'll be using a 50-50 mix of global coolant. That's good enough stuff. I put this amazing apparatus on it, got it up to operating temperature, made sure that the heater works inside the car so all the coolant's topped off. I went through about 2.5 gallons of coolant with the stuff in the reservoir. So I'm going to call it a job. Okay, bye.